We have now spent a total of 3 months traveling in Greece. And first, what we want to break down for you is what we have seen so far as the pros and cons of the area.
Yeah, now there's a lot of pros. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
We're going to do a list of what we think the pros are. We're going to start with the climate for me.
Yeah.
I love the climate. There's always a cool breeze. Sometimes it gets a little windy, but that's going to come later in the video.
Plus, it can kind of go without saying, Greece is just beautiful, you know, especially when you get into the old town areas or into the harbors. It's just a beautiful area, so kind of hard to not just notice that right away. The other area is the beaches. Their beaches are beautiful. Now, some of the areas have much more beautiful beaches than others. Some have a lot more rocky beaches than maybe sandy beaches, but just in general, when you're right there against the Mediterranean water, it's hard to beat.
Well, there's red beaches, there's black beaches, there's sandy beaches, there's all kinds of different beaches. The pink beach, yeah, the beaches are amazing. Something else that we have found is the hospitality. The people have been very kind, at least all the ones that we've experienced. We've had a great time meeting new people here in Greece. The two gentlemen down the road here in Hania, they love their NBA. They find out I was from Seattle, and they're all about Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, and the Seattle Supersonics. So that was kind of fun, messing around with those guys for the last 2 weeks. But yeah, the hospitality is top notch.
It is. Now, the other thing that is really great is the food and the wine. We've absolutely loved being able to enjoy that for the time that we have been here. So that is one of those things that, I don't know, we love Greek food.
We love Greek food, and you know, we love Greek wine too. So,
yeah,
you know,
been enjoying it all.
And we love beer. But the one thing that should have been first on the list, honestly, it's Greece. So if you're a history buff, obviously there's just tremendous history here in Greece to explore, and it's something that we did a little bit of for sure. One thing we always mention as well, whatever country we're in, is the language barrier. Now, here in Greece, they speak very fluent English. We've never had a problem with that. Some people say, well, you should learn the language. Well, it's difficult to learn every language in every country we go to, so it's hard enough for me to learn one language. So English speaking countries to us is very important, and honestly we have really had no problems anywhere we've gone, but especially here in Greece.
All right, now the cons of Greece.
It's always a con.
There are a few. Yeah, the number one would be the cost. You know, it's just a very expensive place to come to. Every place that we have been has been quite costly. You kind of know that going in, so as long as you're prepared for that, then that's all good to go. The other huge con for me is how windy it is. It doesn't matter what island we are on. One of the islands we were on more than the others was incredibly windy pretty much every single day, and that just kind of can get old after a while. So I think just something to be aware of.
Now, it can also get very hot in the summer months. We're from the Pacific Northwest, so we like it about 80, 85, maybe 90. It gets much hotter than that here in the summer months, so we might suffer if we're here in the middle of August. Now, we also might suffer because there are a lot of tourists. For all the reasons that we had mentioned before, all the pros, it's a hot spot, obviously, for tourists. So if you want to get out of the tourist destinations, Greece might not be the one for you.
Right, and you know, and it's also just one of those places that's a huge place for the cruise ships to stop.
Yes.
So you not only have the tourists coming in, but some of these main ports, so for instance, where we are right now in Hania, it is a cruise port, and so on some of the days, it is really, really busy in town. So yeah, like Brian said, if you're not a fan of the touristy places, maybe try and stay away from at least the cruise port areas.
The pros far outweigh the cons, is why there are so many of us tourists.
Right, exactly.
With no doubt.
Yeah. Now, where have we been in Greece? So the first place that we went was Santorini. We went there actually a couple years ago for a month stay, and we very much love Santorini. What is not to love about Santorini?
Yeah, what's there not to like about Santorini? We stayed about a mile from Fira, kind of in the center of the island, and I really enjoyed that area.
It was great. We could still walk to Fira, and then we also, in the area that we were in a small little community, it was actually a really cute area as well. So we did really enjoy that. You know, as far as costs, we are going to be letting you know here in just a minute what we paid in each of these areas we stayed in as well, so that you can get a good idea of what the difference of price would be for staying in each location.
Yeah, the best part about the location we stayed in Santorini was the city bus, the island bus, ran right directly through the middle of where we were staying, so we could just hop the bus.
Yeah, if we didn't want to walk.
Get just about anywhere we needed to.
Now our next stop was into Rhodes, and Rhodes, you know, we stayed in Rhodes, well, first off, when we were there in April, and we stayed for a month, and you know, we stayed once again probably about a mile out of Old Town, so once again a little bit more residential feel. Yeah,
it was much more residential feel. I think if I was to do it all over again, I would stay closer to Old Town. We generally like to get away from the touristy areas because we're there for a month, but in this case I wish we were a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Our third stop was Crete. We're in Hania now, and like we've mentioned in a previous video, we love it.
We do. We absolutely love it. And where we stayed, we've actually stayed in 2 locations here in Hania, and we really honestly enjoyed both locations. One was kind of on the west side of the Old Town, and then one was on the east side of the Old Town. So we would recommend those. And like we said, we've got videos on all of these areas as well. So if you would like to see specific videos for locations, you can do that.
If you'd like to see Brian and Carrie 2 years ago, and those videos,
watch our Santorini.
Those Santorini videos might be it might be kind of funny.
Yeah, and so currently it is May, and that's when we're here in Crete. So, and that is really, honestly, probably an absolutely perfect time to be here because the crowds are just starting up, but they're not crazy yet.
Not yet, and the climate is perfect.
Now, what did we spend for each month that we stayed in Greece? Now, in Santorini, like we said, that was 2 months ago, or 2 years ago when we were there, and we spent $2,172 for our month. Now, that seems incredibly affordable, but there's a few factors that go into play with this. This was coming right out of COVID. Prices of places were a lot less inexpensive, or they were less expensive. And I just recently looked, and unfortunately I couldn't do a complete cost comparison of the place we stayed in Santorini to give you an idea of what it is now, but because it's no longer available. But the places that were right around there that I even recall looking at when we were looking for a place, they were ranging at least double what we paid, and we paid $1,200 for a month.
Yeah.
So you were easily now going to be looking at about $2,500 to $3,000 for the same time of year, because Santorini, what time of month or year we
were there? Between April and May.
Yeah. So, you know, so it is really going to be way higher than that amount that we spent 2 years ago.
Yeah, we got lucky. We even got lucky with our accommodations at the time for the price. We don't know why it was what it was, but we feel like we were getting a great deal.
It was a wonderful place.
Yeah, so that price is much higher now, I'm sure. Okay, our month-long stay in Rhodes, which we loved it. We had a great time. We wish we were a little bit closer to the city center, but for what we got, we paid $2,700. What was it, $2,737?
$2,737.
$2,737 for the total cost in Rhodes, and that Airbnb wasn't anywhere near as good as the one in Santorini.
No, not at all. And then in Crete, we ended up spending $2,863. Once again, there were a few variables to that. It would have cost us a little bit more because we ended up only being able to stay for 22 days. So if we, excuse me, if we would have stayed for 28 days, it would have cost more. But you know, once again, like we mentioned, that's one of the downsides of Greece, is it is going to cost you to come here in comparison to some other places.
Yeah, there's also always construction going on here in Hania. Right now, they just fired up, I think they're building the building with a chainsaw right now. Now, what is it that we like best about each island? We're going to start back in Santorini. Love Santorini. Beautiful island.
It is absolutely beautiful. You know, Santorini, I think the best way to describe Santorini is picturesque. Everywhere you turn, you don't have to be in the old town or in like a specific area to have it be beautiful. It's just beautiful. So I would say that's one of the things that ranked really high for me in comparison maybe to some of the other areas that we have been. The other pro that I would say is that Santorini is a very small island. So especially for us being there for a month, it's very easy to see everything there. There's a great bus system that takes you to all of the locations. So you can really see, and there's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do. There's a lot to see. There's a lot of history to see. There's a lot of beaches to explore, different beaches on different parts of the island. Obviously the old towns and the shopping and everything goes along with that. We did a lot of street beer.
We did a lot of street
were
beer
there.
because we were trying to save some money, and you could get a beer for a couple dollars and then just go take in the views, which were, like we mentioned, absolutely gorgeous wherever you were.
Yeah, just sit on a bench.
And just sit on a bench and take it all in. So that was great. Now, of course, there also are some cons, and the cons for Santorini are, once again, the crowds. Now, the crowds, because cruise ships, it's a very popular cruise ship port, and so when the cruise ship comes in, it can become almost miserable in the little towns that you're in. For us, being there for a month wasn't a huge deal because we could look at the cruise ship schedule and just not go into town during that time.
Yeah, we got lucky. We had kind of the best of both worlds while we were there. The cruise ships hadn't started showing up the first week and a half we were there, so we really had the place to ourselves. And then once they showed up in force, and we kind of got bumped out.
Yeah. Now, another con would be that was also a pro of how small the island is. It is a small island. So if you are going to be there for a long period of time and you like to be very busy, you might get bored.
Yeah.
Because there might not be enough to keep you busy for that period of time. Now, what were the things that we loved about Rhodes? Now, Rhodes, I think one of the standout things comparative to the other islands we had been to, it's one of the less expensive islands to be on.
Yeah, we found it very inexpensive. The rental car alone cost us about $35 for the entire day. We thought that was a steal of a deal. The food, everything that we experienced seemed to be a lot less expensive.
It did, and with the rental car, you know, that is a thing also as a pro, is that the island is small enough that you can rent that car and really explore the entire island in one day. So that's a huge pro in our book.
Rhodes also had a very large old town, so you could explore it 2 or 3 days in a row and find something new every time. So we did enjoy that as well. You kind of get lost in the back streets, find some boutique shop that you might have missed the first time. So we enjoy doing a lot of that type of thing.
We did, and we were there for that month, and there would be times we'd be walking through Old Town. It's like, have we even been on this area before? So when we say a large Old Town, we're not, you know, it is. It's a very large Old Town. Now, another, when we were talking about the day trips, one of the places that is often, and honestly, when you see pictures of Rhodes, is Lindos. It's a very picturesque, kind of has that Santorini feel, and I don't know, the big castle up on the ruins on the hill, and it's very picturesque. So that's another positive, is that there is that small little town that you can go visit on a day trip.
I guess the downside to Rhodes would be once you get outside of Old Town, there's not really much to see. It's a little bit run down. The beaches aren't quite what we would expect from Greece, but you know, they do have beaches. Okay,
so now on to where we are now, Crete. The pros of Crete, we would say, would be the beautiful beaches. We've really enjoyed the nice sand beaches. Sometimes it's hard to find that sand. You get the pebble beaches instead. So we've enjoyed that. The other pro would be, for me, just the accessibility of so many airports on Crete. There's multiple ones, so if you aren't coming, say, into Hania and you're coming to the other areas of the island, there's different airports to choose from.
And again, we mentioned this in a lot of videos, but we especially would say here in Crete, the hospitality, the friendly people. You almost feel like you make friends while you're here with some of the locals, which we really enjoy doing.
We really enjoy that.
And I guess also I would say the fact that everybody speaks English now.
Very widely spoken.
Very widely spoken. We haven't had any problems with that at all.
Now, the cons of Crete would be just how big the island is, so it's very hard to explore it all. And then the other con would just be the cost. Out of the 3 islands, this was the most expensive by far. Now, I guess I say that in the sense that if we would go back to Santorini at this exact same time, we may find that they're more comparable to each other.
Might be very comparable, yep. Now, we recently did a video about underrated or overrated destinations. Where does Crete fall into the hype meter that we have going?
I would say that we also had a level that was as expected, and that is where we kind of put it. It's just kind of as you expect. You expect it to be beautiful. You expect it to be expensive. You expect the beautiful water, and so it was as expected. We got it all.
Greece lived up to our expectations. Would we come back? Absolutely. We would come back.
There's a lot more islands and areas to explore. It's a huge place, so there's plenty we'll come back and see. But now, say you are trying to do things on a budget but you want a similar feel, there are other options for you and places that we have traveled to. Not far from here, when we first came, we were coming from Turkey. You know, you can go to Turkey and you can be on the coastline. We were in Fethiye, absolutely beautiful area. You're on the same beautiful water, and really honestly, for kind of a fraction of the cost.
You know, we went to Santorini from Albania. So we were in Santorini, Albania, again, same beautiful blue water, same great food, great hospitality. The infrastructure in Albania needs some work, but if you're looking for the beaches and you're looking for that water, you can find it in Albania for a fraction of the price.
Fraction of the price, and so I would suggest, you know, if you at all are just kind of interested or intrigued to kind of check that out, check out our video on that, or just check out the area itself, because like Ryan said, fraction of the cost, we're talking, we spent maybe a third of what we would spend coming into Greece and spending the month. So if you're trying to do the same area on a budget, there are other options. All right, well, we hope that this was helpful to you if you're planning a trip to Greece and just wanted to know a little bit more about the area, and we will catch you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.